Welcome to another edition of the NCBI podcast. I'm June Tinsley, Head of Communications and Advocacy with NCBI. And today I am joined by Ciaran Taylor, who is going to tell us all about the fabulous, innovative initiative that he's involved with called the Sightless Cinema. So welcome, Ciaran, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Would you mind just telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in this Sightless Cinema?
Yes, I'm a theatre director and deviser, and I've also been an actor as well. So what I do is generally I work with actors and musicians to create plays from scratch, starting with ideas. So we've created shows in fire stations, ferry ports, in theatres, adaptations of novels like Hyde and Jekyll, and also silent work where we use full face masks, again, site specific and in theatres. So I do a wide range of work, but always beginning with the actor and usually working with sound and musicians as well to create stories and put together theatre. So there was an opportunity in 2014 with Dundee Rathdown County Council, who were commissioning a disability arts project, and the NCBI was one of the possible people to work with, and I joined together with a sound designer called Rachel Quinn and came up with the idea of using my sort of methodology, but to create radio or audio drama with blind and visually impaired people. And the idea evolved gradually over a year as we figured out how it could be done. And we eventually sort of developed a method of working whereby we would record with people. So, you know, we recruited people, no experience necessary. We had people from their 20s to their 80s working together, just brainstorming ideas, improvising, experimenting with sound and so on, to start to create what you might call radio plays, but which we decided to present in cinemas, so hence the Sightless Cinema. So the idea here is that everyone goes to the cinema, the lights go down, but there are no pictures. It's all sound. So we use the surround sound systems in cinemas to make this immersive sound experience. So the sound is all around you. And I can tell you more about that again. But just they're the origins. Yeah, it was this idea that evolved for this commission back in 2014. And I had done a little bit of radio drama in university. I studied directing in the University of Kent in Canterbury in England. And after that, I went to Paris to do a 2-year course in, devising and physical theatre in École Jacques Lecoq, it's called. So I hadn't gotten a chance to ever do any radio drama since leaving college. So something went off in my brain when this opportunity came up to work with blind people. I said, this is the ideal sort of medium, and it really is about giving people a chance to create in the medium of sound, and then sharing that. The sharing is very important. So we've had public events in cinemas, in the Lighthouse Cinema in Dublin, the UCD Student Cinema, and recently we've moved out to Tala, to the Rua Red Arts Centre. So we present there in the IMC cinemas in Tala. That is up until last year. But we'll be back, I hope. But the idea there is that, sorry, I'm not talking a lot here, but I'll just keep on explaining.
It's fine. I suppose it's great to hear that the initial concept has grown such legs over the last couple of years. And I suppose I'm just curious to know what type of productions you've put on over that space of time. So if I was to attend a showing in the cinema, what kind of productions would you be putting on?
Yeah, so each year we've put on a series of short plays. So the production would last about an hour and a half or so, and they would be recorded. So the method that we've sort of used is we'll recruit a group, well, for the first 4 years or so anyway, we'd recruit a group of somewhere between 10 and 15 people, and just really start working together from scratch, start experimenting, getting people to record sounds on their phones, playing with making sound effects with all sorts of objects, listening back to them and then improvising on that, getting people's own sort of personal stories and funny stories and ideas and putting together plays. So the program, what you would hear is a series of short plays. Now, some of them were as short as like 3 minutes, and some of them might be like 20 minutes or 25 minutes, I think was the longest one. So it's a whole wide range. We've had like soap operas. In the first year, we did a soap opera about a hairdresser who was losing his sight but trying to cover it up, and lots of other things were going wrong, like the plumbing and so on. So it was a sort of a comedy soap opera, and we did 3 episodes of that. That was all sort of generated by the group. And then we've also done documentaries where people talk a bit about their own experiences, and we put them together. But mostly they're dramas. Some of them are more serious. We had one which was a historical drama. One of the members was very interested in industrial history, and it was about a train crash in the 19th century. So, you know, and then others might be just like a short comedy about you know, a hotel porter being mistaken for a doctor and ending up doing an intimate examination in the Mater Hospital, you know, silly things like that.
It sounds as if it's quite all homegrown material, essentially, based on those who get involved, based on their ideas or their experiences.
Exactly.
And am I correct in saying that everybody who gets involved plays a role in the production, whether
Absolutely.
it's the scripting or the sound editing or the audio pieces or whatever the angle that they contribute?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what we'll do is like an idea might emerge, and it might be just from chatting. There's a lot of chatting goes on, but eventually sort of ideas emerge. And then somebody might work on that and try and come up with some ideas, and then they bring it back to the group, and then we'll get more ideas, and then we'll start improvising, and people do get involved. Everyone gets involved in you know, playing characters. But you know, it's very easy and straightforward, and we're doing that from the beginning of the workshops, you know. So it's not very sort of fixed. Okay, you're going to write this play, you're going to be directed, and you're going to be acting in it. You know, we really work together. I work together with get everyone in the group bringing forward the ideas. So somebody will bring an idea, and that will be totally transformed by the others' ideas of the group, and eventually we will come up with sometimes scripts. So that might be, some people do take on writing, and then I will work with them editing that and helping to evolve the ideas into a script that we then will go into the recording studio and record. Other times, though, we improvise, and this is harder for the editing point of view. We will improvise ideas and then re-improvise and then edit together from that. But what you get is a very naturalistic sort of feel. So what people observe, you know, who come to the performances, is that you know, that the performances are very natural, you know, because we're you know, the people get used to just improvising, you know, and sometimes they're playing themselves, or sometimes they're playing people who are very different from themselves. But I think there's something about, you know, when you're just recording, as opposed to making videos or TV or what that, it's less intimidating somehow. So, you know, people just sort of chat and get involved in a situation, and we record it, and suddenly we start to develop plays from that. And I suppose one important thing,
kind of informality really is what's appealing to it.
Yeah. And sorry, another thing we do in the performances is we every year we've done a live radio drama. So this would sort of be bringing you back to the origins of radio drama, you know, in the 20s and 30s, when it all had to go out live. So and that takes a bit more work, so people have to really learn off their lines, and we would create live sound effects on stage, and that'd be like, you know, a 5 or 6 minute play. So that's how we end the performance. So people get to hear this sort of big production, and we do mix it in surround sound. So I would go into a studio with like a cinema sound designer, and create the surround sound picture. So, you know, you might have somebody walking in a park, along the front, and suddenly behind you, you'll hear an ambulance coming in the distance, and then it'll come and it like as if it passes in front of you, things like that. So we can really
Yes.
play around with that sound. But we make those big productions. But then we have a homemade sort of production where the actors are in front of you. We have microphones, and they're maybe making some sound effects with water or zipping open and shut suitcases and things like that, just to give that, and it's real fun, it's great fun seeing how it's all put together. So
can I
yeah,
ask Ciaran, how has COVID impacted on the development of this? Because as you said, it began in Dunleary as a workshop type and then evolved and evolved. But then obviously COVID came along and scuppered a lot of plans, I'm sure, and then obviously access to the cinemas. So tell us how COVID has impacted the productions of Sightless Cinema, and whether it's led to progress or stalled things.
Yeah. Well, it's changed things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were determined to keep going. So we the last March, when it looked like this lockdown was happening, somebody in the group said, "Oh, there's this Zoom thing. Zoom, you can meet online." And we had used conference calling for rehearsing before, but we'd never heard of Zoom. But within a month, we were online. So we have been working online since. So we had a group working in Tala and also a group working in the NCBI in Drumcondra, supported by the National League for the Blind. So I suppose, yeah, I mean, there is a long history in the since 2014, but we've been supported by the Fighting Blindness, the League of the Blind, the NCBI, and we moved to Dublin City Council, where they supported us for a couple of years. And now for the past three, and we're into the fourth year, I think now, we're with the South Dublin County Council. So the online, I was really surprised. I didn't think it would work, but we've had a group of about 15 people meeting every week and twice a week initially. To online, and it's really worked, and I think it's been really vital for people to keep a connection with each other, But I suppose what helped was people knew each other in advance, so that helped to sort of the group was instantly formed,
Yes.
So we were able to deal with the big number. Now we are starting. So to how it's impacted, it's been massive. We had a plan to create a live immersive sound show called In the Dark, and we were invited by the Abbey Theatre to be part of their 5x5 program. So we had a week scheduled in the Peacock Theatre to develop this piece, where we were going to bring the audience into a sort of a darkened space. So it's a bit like theatre in the dark, a bit like dining in the dark, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And create this sort of live audio experience. So we were working with a Foley artist. Foley artists create the spot sort of sound effects in movies. So when somebody opens a door or breaks a glass or closes their zip, that's all done by Foley artists. So we were really playing around with sound and creating a live performance. But so that couldn't happen last year. But we did create a whole a series, a sort of a comedy series based on the COVID experience called the COVID Tapes. So the idea was that somebody had accidentally had the record function on their phone on, and it was a pensioner who was advised to cocoon, using the community hub, and this is a 4-part series about. She rings up the helpline and ends up with a GAA volunteer, and he's in the supermarket trying to get her order and deliver it to her, and there's all sorts of things go wrong along the way, and they end up having a drink on the doorstep after he's come on his motorbike from Tullamore and broken down and all the rest. But yeah. So I mean, it's a real character comedy. So we have the main character in it is Dolores, who doesn't put a tooth in it.
Yes.
she's a very demanding customer. But we so what we did is we recorded that on Zoom, so we had these Zoom meetings. So some people log in with a computer, some people use landlines and phones, and we found that we could record. The quality isn't amazing, but the what we've created was a whole series of phone calls essentially. And we put those out online then last summer on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel, Sightless Cinema YouTube channel, and a Facebook page, things that we hadn't done before. So the pandemic sort of pushed us into this online world, whereas before we were really concentrating on creating these live events and bringing audiences together, which is really powerful, because that moment when people spend an hour together, an hour and a half in the dark, listening to things and going into their imagination. It's like, when you read a book, you imagine everything that's happening in the book yourself. So it's a very powerful personal experience. But if you do that with 100 other people around you, it's a very personal experience, but it's also shared at the same time. So, people really go into almost a trance with it sometimes, and they get drawn into the world, and then they've a lot to talk about afterwards because, like, what did you hear, or how did you picture it, and so on.
Exactly. But I suppose the benefit of doing it more digitally, it means it extends your opportunity to engage with wider audiences, and I suppose in terms of encouraging other people who are blind or vision impaired to participate in the Sightless Cinema, how can people get involved, or is it open to new members?
Yes, yeah, and I suppose we were in the process of expanding and starting some pilot projects around the country in cooperation with the NCBI, and that was all sort of in train at the beginning of last year, and that stalled. Now we did do a pilot project with the Solstice Art Centre in Navins, so that was online, and now we have another introductory project with Carlow County Council, and that is going to be starting after Easter. So we haven't exactly firmed the dates yet, but it's most likely will be maybe the 19th of April. So people can get in touch with the NCBI. I'm not sure exactly. You might have the details to put at the end, June, about who exactly to get in touch with there in relation to setting up that group. So yeah, it's open to anybody, with a visual impairment or blind. And I was worried, about starting the groups online, but actually from our pilot project in Navan, it worked really well. And it's all about having a bit of fun and try and think something out, something new, and everybody is able to contribute. Everybody can be part of bringing ideas, and we start gradually just exploring, listening to examples as well of radio plays, and then exploring the idea of sound effects, and then reacting to them, and coming up with characters, and it's all very gradual, but it's good crack, so the people usually have a good time. So that's an opportunity for new members to join, and people can get in touch with me at any time. The Gmail is whitecaneaudiotheatre@gmail.com. Now, White Cane Audio Theatre is what we call the performing group, or the group who create Sightless Cinema. So it's always Sightless Cinema with White Cane Audio Theatre. And we've also started with the support from Creative Ireland, again, another opportunity that came from the pandemic. We've done an online editing course, again supported by South Dublin County Council, which has a few of the members learning how to edit using Audacity, which is a free editing program. So out of that, we've already started to do podcasts, and we've set up again. These are the things that we wouldn't have done before, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an opportunity.
Yeah. We've set up a podcast, so we're on Anchor FM, and then it's on various podcast platforms like Google, so on. So if you look for Sightless Cinema, we've put out a first episode actually just last week, which is me sort of like this explaining the project a bit, and then one of the plays from the past. So we're using the plays that we have presented in cinemas. We're going to present them over a number of podcasts over a number of weeks in the next few months. And there's a special there which is edited by one of the members, Michael Lavin, who's where we interviewed a sound technician from RTE who's also losing his sight. So it's sort of giving a perspective on that. But that's all been that's all something that no one imagined that they would be doing this year. So a number of the people in the group have learned to do audio editing, and they're going to continue to work on projects. So, you know, I mean, the vision is hopefully that, you know, this is something that can sort of spread. You know, we have been mostly based in Dublin, but now, and I suppose with using having been able to do online, we can be anywhere in the country, and people can get involved from wherever they are. But I mean, our aim would always be to try and get together, you know, and create you know, performances where people are getting together, because I think it's very powerful to bring blind and sighted people together to experience something together in that they have in common, you know. So it's through listening.
Yeah.
You know, there's no interpretation needed. There's no barrier, you know. They're sharing the same artistic experience, and it also, I suppose, it really empowers people who get involved, because they get to be creative and present something to the public, which is you know, sort of a polished professional production that you know, hopefully is really entertaining, you know. So it's
They can all be proud of.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I mean, what happens? Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say there, just in terms of the Sightless Cinema, Carlow, to advise listeners that they don't necessarily need to be in the Carlow area to put themselves forward to participate in these workshops, because, as you said, they are operating online, and that no experience is necessary. All you need to bring with you is your enthusiasm to participate and to kind of get stuck in all the aspects of a production. And just to inform people that they are envisaged to last over an 8-week period, from the 19th of April to the 7th of June, from 10:30 to 11:45.
Yes, and it'd be important to get in touch in advance so that we can organise any access, you know, because whatever platform we're using, you know, some people might need some extra help with that, you know. So so to, you know, get in touch as soon as possible. And if people just want to find out more, they can send me an email or get in touch with me through the NCBI, and I'd be happy to chat to them as well. But yeah, it's a great opportunity, and as I say, people join in, you know, who've no experience. They don't really know what it's going to be, because, you know, you know, you'll find out as you go along, and everyone really I think enjoys it, because it's about taking people from where they're at. And you know, I suppose me as an artist, my job is this is what we call participatory art. So I work with the people who turn up to see what can we create together, you know.
Exactly.
So
So
that's all you
you're
have to
not going
bring.
in with the there's no specific agenda, which is it gives you carte blanche to create a wonderful production together.
Yes, yeah, you don't have to think you're an actor or a writer or a director or anything like that. You just, you know, come as you are, and we'll work something out together.
Brilliant. Listen, thank you, Ciaran, very much for telling us all about Sightless Cinema. And as I said, if any of our listeners do want to contact you directly to learn how they can participate in these workshops or upcoming productions, the best way is to email whitecaneaudiotheatre@gmail.com. As always, if anyone is interested in accessing any of NCBI services, please feel free to call the info line 1850 33 43 53. So thanks again, Ciaran, and I wish you very best in the forthcoming workshops and beyond. And I hope lots of creative juices start flowing when you all come together.
Thanks a million. Great to talk to you.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, June. Bye.
Bye.